Casey Lund was there this morning.
I'm standing on the surrender deck of the battleship Missouri, and this is the most historic, significant, important spot on this entire vessel. This is the exact spot where that instrument of surrender was signed by the Japanese and General MacArthur 80 years ago today, September 2nd, 1945. 80 years later, 8 members of the Missouri's crew that were on board that day returned to this historic ship.
Representatives of the major warring powers to conclude a solemn agreement whereby peace may be restored.
This historic moment in time was witnessed by more than 5,000 on board the Missouri that day, and collectively thousands more aboard countless other warships that filled Tokyo Bay. But these 8 men from all over the country, many of them part of the Mighty Mo's original crew, are still here with us to tell their tales.
The USS Missouri was under constant air attack, day and night, shot down 11 kamikazes.
Edgar Buffman was a gunner's mate second class. He remembers the surrender like it was yesterday, down to even minute details.
We brought the Japanese contingent on board on the starboard side. The table was sent over from His Majesty's ship, King George V. The signing of the surrender documents turned out the table's too small. At the last moment, 2 sailors from my division were sent to the mess hall, where they carried a big mess hall table to the scene. It was on this modest table that the former documents ended World War II and were signed.
Among the crowd today, Edgar's son, Ed Buffman Jr., beaming with pride.
They were men. They went in as kids, came out as men. And he was here in his early 20s, teens and 20s. I'm honored to be here. I mean, I'm emotional about it because and it was meant so much for my dad, for me to come with him for this. I'm just honored to be here.
Christine Kennedy, another descendant of this Elite 8 group of heroes.
It's tremendous. It's been a monumentous opportunity for us. We're privileged to be here.
Her grandfather, Robert Kennedy, from Sarasota Springs, New York, was on the Mighty Mo that day as well. She and her family have heard the stories, but this is their first time on board.
So this is my first time being here, and I brought my son, so I'm here with my grandfather, my father, my parents, and my boys, so 4 generations.
A special day for a special American family. Also in the crowd, a handful of other World War II veterans, men from the greatest generation, like Patrick Ziliakis, with stories many of us simply can't fathom.
It's a big thrill and a sense of responsibility that this sort of stuff doesn't happen again. And I've been in 2 Pearl Harbor situations. The first one was in Finland when the Russian bombers came without a declaration of war. So I was in a war before World War II.
80 years since the end of World War II, it's important that those stories, those legacies, especially of our World War II veterans that made so many sacrifices, some of them paying the ultimate sacrifice, are always remembered in our hearts. Reporting aboard the USS Missouri, I'm Casey Lund for Hawaii News Now.
And thank you for the report, Casey. Very well thought out. A number of surviving veterans ranging in the age from 97 to over 100 years old laid wreaths at the World War II Memorial, and this is in Washington, D.C. This to pay tribute to more than the 400,000 Americans killed during the war, as well as to the millions of American military members who helped lead the Allies to victory.
When you're with others, tell them about us. Tell them about what you saw and experienced here, and read on to find out more about us. And why do that? Well, because, remember, we gave up our yesterdays for your and their tomorrows.
VJ Day, or Victory Over Japan Day, came months after Victory in Europe Day, or VE Day, and that is when Nazi Germany unconditionally surrendered.
And happy Tuesday, everybody. Let's take a look at our first alert radar and satellite. Of course, all eyes are now Hurricane Kiko out in the eastern Pacific Ocean. It's slowly moving westward, going to be moving into the central Pacific over the next couple of days. You can see in the satellite imagery out here over the last hour, you can very clearly see that eye, actually seeing it close up a little bit. But when we start to see those eyes on the hurricane, of course, it's indicating that it's a very organized system and pretty strong. Again, Hurricane Kiko is out there. It's a Category 2 storm right now. It's moving westward around 6 miles per hour, and it's got maximum sustained winds of 100 miles per hour. Just giving you some context for where it is. Here's the island chain right out here, and it could be moving closer to us, but there's still a lot of uncertainty for the overall path and the intensity of this storm. I'll give you a look at the latest track from the National Hurricane Center coming up.
Mahalo, Drew, for keeping us updated on that. In other news of the islands, we're hearing from a witness to a deadly motorcycle crash in Ewa Beach. It happened along Kuhina Street at 2:30 yesterday morning. Police say a 23-year-old man was speeding before he hit a parked truck. He was thrown to the road and died at the scene. The man was not wearing a helmet. A witness who wished to remain anonymous described the collision and the moment that he saw the man on the ground.
All I heard was like a big crash. When I heard it, I just came out here right away. It was a pretty graphic sight. It was not pleasing for anyone's slight of stomach to look at.
Now, this happened just a couple miles away from a memorial along Kolowaka Drive. That's where a 15-year-old boy who was also riding an e-motorcycle without a helmet died about 2 weeks ago. Monday's collision marks Oahu's 57th traffic death. That's more than double the number at the same time last year. Now, to promote safe riding, cyclists plan to host a free educational event for e-bike and e-motorcycle riders. It's scheduled for November 1st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Ewa Elementary School. Over on the Garden Isle, police are looking for suspects in the deadly beating of a homeless amputee. Loved ones identified the victim as 56-year-old David La'amea, who lost both his legs due to diabetes. The night of August 24th, a bystander found La'amea crying for help on the side of the road at Waianae Beach. He was flown to Oahu for emergency care, but died 4 days later.
But just by looking at him, they did damage. They brutally damaged him. And it's just mind-blowing that someone can inhumane do that. Knowing that my uncle was a disabled man with no legs, how can he defend himself? He had his hands, but that was it, you know, and it was not fair. It was not fair to him and not fair to us that he had to go through that.
Police have not released any suspect details. Anyone with information is asked to call Kauai Crime Stoppers at 808-246-8300. And 1 year after a mass shooting on Waianae Valley Road, loved ones carried on with an annual mahjong tournament as a sign of their healing. Our Daryl Huff reports it was during last year's tournament that a neighbor went on a murderous rampage.
Thank you for this place that you've given us. Even if it has been tainted, it is a place that we belong.
They held hands and bowed heads on the same lanai where exactly a year ago, next-door neighbor Hiram Silva rammed a front loader carrying diesel cans and began randomly firing, shooting 5 people and killing cousins Cheryl Kiamu, Courtney Raymond Arakaki, and Jessica Amasiu. As they were a year ago, the family was gathered for an annual mahjong tournament held this Saturday in mourning and resilience.
It is a tradition in our family that continue to move forward. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Good luck, everybody!
There were moments of pure joy and love and just feeling together. And then there were moments of sadness and, you know, the loss when you're trying to celebrate what you can still feel the void and that loss.
Allison and Richard Kiamu Karnate say they still struggle with trauma and grief, especially over the 3 young ladies who died.
The way my family operates, we feel responsible for them because they were younger than us and we're supposed to take care of them.
Richard shot Silva in self-defense, and Silva, who had years before been a friend, died outside the gate.
I try not to let it haunt me. I mean, I still look at the tree like he's still present. But the more I think about him, he's gonna be there. So I try not to focus on that. And I mean, it was a struggle, a real hard struggle.
There was heroism that night, including by teenager Rain Kiamo Karnate.
But he's my hero. That man, my son.
What did he do for you?
He took his sister out of harm's way.
What happened?
He picked her up before the car could have smashed her into the house.
Silva's rampage came after the Kiamos complained about reckless driving by people at a graduation party in the Silva Dome, a large Quonset hut that the Silva family illegally built and operated as a party tent. During COVID in 2021, the city issued a notice that the structure was illegal, and Silva began harassing and threatening the Kiamos, but police who responded did not arrest him. Because the notorious Silva Dome entertainment venue has been taken down, the city says the family doesn't face any penalties for it. But the Silva family and the city both face a massive wrongful death lawsuit for the alleged neglect of the situation that eventually led to the killings. But the killing didn't stop as gun violence shocked the community. The Kiamos' own trauma and a sense of unsafety made this a difficult year and dimmed their hope that the government will fix things.
I don't think that legislation or policy is going to change our community. We have to change it ourselves and by the way we treat each other.
But today the couple also shared gratitude for the people that helped them rebuild their house, supportive employers, and a supportive community. And a neighborhood quiet enough to enjoy the mahjong.
Nobody was popping fireworks, and we're very grateful and thankful for that. And we hope people go back to the way it used to be and celebrate life.
Come on, come and join us. Don't just stand there.
Reporting from Waianae, Daryl Huff, Hawaii News Now.
Now, more than 2 years after the Maui wildfire disaster, some residents are still struggling. Tina Bass is 75 years old. She was living in Hale Maho'olu e Ono, an affordable housing complex for Kupuna off Lahainaluna Road. It was destroyed in the fire. She barely survived and lost friends and neighbors. Now she's living on Kauai. She wants to move back home to the Valley Isle, but can't find housing, and she's run out of money.
It's dark. Sometimes it gets real dark because, like, you know, I mean, I'm 75 years old. It's like, come on. I don't want to keep going through this. And I know I'm not the only one they're doing this to.
Bass says she was receiving help from the state, but got this letter last month. It says her case has been closed after stating she secured permanent housing. Bass says this isn't the only case and that she is still struggling. She hopes someone sees her story and can help her find affordable housing on Maui. On Oahu, a private memorial ceremony was held yesterday for fallen Maui police officer Suzanne O. Members of the Honolulu Police and Fire Department were among those who paid their respects at the service at the Valley of the Temples in Kaneohe. This was followed by a reception that was open to the public. Last week, Officer O was honored by her fellow officers on Maui.
And it's tough. It just highlights that this profession it's a tough profession. At any moment, you know, the worst can happen. But it's an honorable profession, and they do it because they want to. They do it because it's their job, and they put their lives on the line every single day. And that's what Officer O did.
The Maui Police Department has set up a memorial to honor and remember Officer O. We've posted information on how to donate on our website, hawaiinewsnow.com. And coming up, President Trump says the U.S. has carried out a strike in the Southern Caribbean. More details after the break, plus this.
Lawmakers return to Washington with a long to-do list. I'm Tori and Small on Capitol Hill, where they're also renewing their push for answers on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Reed Mahuna is now Hawaii County Police Department's interim chief. Mahuna has been with the department since 1998. He replaces acting chief Ben Moskowitz, who announced his resignation to become the interim Honolulu police chief, but later tried to withdraw it. Moskowitz's official last day was on Sunday. President Trump says the U.S. has carried out a strike in the southern Caribbean against a drug-carrying vessel that departed from Venezuela. The president says 11 were killed in the operation. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the vessel was being operated by a designated narco-terrorist organization. The U.S. recently announced plans to boost its maritime force in the waters off Venezuela to combat threats from Latin America drug cartels. And Congress has returned from its summer recess, and there is a lot on the agenda. Despite Republican majorities in both chambers of Congress, the Epstein files remain top of mind. Torian Small has more details from Capitol Hill.
Survivors arrived on Capitol Hill for closed-door meetings with lawmakers investigating convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
It's for us to hear from them, to express our deep sympathy for what they've been made to endure, and to ensure them that we have been and always will be for maximum transparency.
House Speaker Mike Johnson has said he would prefer the DOJ handle the case while lawmakers focus on other issues, including the budget, which must be passed by the end of the month.
The House will be in order.
But some members of the House Oversight Committee are pushing for a vote that will compel the Department of Justice to release all Epstein-related files.
Republican lawmakers have a more pressing deadline. President Trump's federal takeover of D.C. police is set to expire next week unless Congress extends it.
We cannot and will not allow D.C. to fall into a hellscape again. When the local government fails, it's our constitutional duty to act.
House Republicans are planning to introduce bills to give federal government more time to deploy National Guard troops in D.C. streets, something the president is threatening to repeat in Chicago, posting on social media, quote, "I will solve the crime problem fast, just like I did in D.C. Chicago will be safe again and soon."
We're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country.
Tuesday morning, a federal judge ruled Trump violated the law when he deployed the National Guard and Marines to the streets of Los Angeles in June. Torian Small, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And stick around, we're watching Hurricane Kiko very closely. Now a Category 2. I'll give you the latest look at the latest observations from the National Hurricane Center coming up.
First Alert Weather
with Drew Davis.
All right, well, happy Tuesday, everybody. Of course, we are watching what is now Hurricane Kiko out there, a Category 2 storm. And I want to give you the latest look at the observations from the National Hurricane Center. Again, this is a Category 2 storm moving west at 6 miles per hour. And as we expand this out over the Central Pacific, you can see where Hawaii is in relation to this storm. It's still pretty far off to our east and southeast. Of course, we're tracking the tropics very closely out there. Here's the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. Again, this was a tropical storm, now a Category 2 storm out there, expected to get up to around a Category 3 hurricane by the time we get into Wednesday. And then we're going to start to see a lot of uncertainty and variability in how strong this storm is going to get as it's approaching the island chain. Of course, it's expected to weaken to a Category 1 hurricane as it gets into the Central Pacific. There's a wide spread in the models to see how strong the storm is going to get. You can see some of the models are actually converging on this westward and west-northwestward movement as it's moving into the Central Pacific. Again, this line is 140 degrees west right there, and there's more variability as we're getting further out in time. This model that I just showed you is the European model. It brings it closer to the Big Island, and then we get remnant rainfall across the rest of the island chain. But the GFS, the American model, actually brings it north of the Big Island, closer to Maui County. One of the reasons we're actually seeing this system expecting it to get weaker is because of this cooler water out here. This is colder than normal water, typically protecting the island chain during hurricane season out there. But as Kiko starts to move closer, you can see it's a Category 3 there, moving into that cold pool, starts to get a little bit weaker. That's as far out as the National Hurricane Center cone of uncertainty forecast goes for right now. But of course, as we get closer to next week, we'll have a little bit better of an idea. It's just something to keep an eye on right now. We're giving you that first alert heads up. Here's our island by island forecast as we're going into Wednesday. Kauai, mostly sunny, spotty morning showers. Sunny here on Oahu. We've got slightly drier air out across the island chain right now. Sunny across Maui County, 88 in Kahului and over in Kihei, 86 in Kailua Kona, 84 in Hilo, and then moving up to the northern portions of the Big Island, seeing mostly sunny conditions as well. Hour by hour forecast, 87 degrees out there right now, and then our surf and shoreline forecast, we're seeing that northwest swell moving in for Tuesday afternoon. Here's your 7-day forecast. Mahalo to Vince for sending in this photo of Waikiki. Lots of sunshine going into the weekend. Of course, we're preparing for Kiko by sometime next week.
Mahalo, Drew. Coming up, a rare sighting at sea. Bottlenose dolphins were spotted along something unusual off the coast of California. We got details on that coming up in 2 minutes. a stampede of more than 100 dolphins was spotted racing alongside a whale-watching vessel.
And this happened just off the coastline from Newport Beach, California. Take a look at this. Passengers aboard a Newport coastal adventure vessel marveled at the energetic display as the dolphins repeatedly leaped from the water in a feat of raw athleticism. Some of the dolphins launched themselves more than 10 feet into the air, leaving watchers speechless. This type of high-flying behavior is actually not commonly seen in bottlenose dolphins. The passengers were surely thrilled to bear witness to such a rare phenomenon.
Drew, I bet that's how you swim, though, right?
Yeah, I can hop at least 20 feet out of the air. No, I'm just kidding.
Let's see that, because I know you're a very athletic kind of guy, and I would be amazed at watching that. Isn't it pretty cool?
That's so cool,
Look
especially like it seems like they're doing tricks. Pretty neat.
Yeah, and just doing it for, this is the open ocean. This is not marine world or sea world. Yeah. It's in the open ocean. Pretty cool. Newport Beach, California.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's always cool when they come up and they swim right by the boat, but I've never seen them jump out.
Not like that. They were giving them a free show, so you got to enjoy Mother Nature at its best, and the dolphins having fun. So. By the way, good to be with you today.
Good to work with you, Jonathan.
And I know you're tracking another busy day in weather.
Tracking Kiko. That's next week. Hurricane right now expected to get to a Category 3 weakening before it gets to Hawaii.